Welcome back inside the bunker. It is Tuesday, August 5th. As always, I'm Kevin Bunk coming to you weekdays for BTO Media, and the bunker is fully transitioning now into a football podcast for the immediate future, because whenever we get to this first week of August, we have the Burrows where we do baseball on BTO Media. I like to just dive right into the football. There's really nothing else going on besides baseball and NFL training camp. So we'll get right into the football the rest of the way, a couple days a week here, as always. And now we're on YouTube. So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, as you usually do, we're now on YouTube on the BTO Media YouTube channel doing the bunker. So the first thing we want to dive into today, in a load of stuff to talk about, is the Micah Parsons trade request from last week. We all saw it. He puts out those notes, the Notes app on the iPhone. Parsons makes a statement saying he's done in Dallas. He explains a little bit of the wrongdoings in the contract negotiations by Jerry Jones, by ownership, front office. Both of it is the same in Dallas, and says he contacted Stephen Jones directly with the trade request. And this is similar to the Myles Garrett situation from February, where he said, I'm done in Cleveland. I want out. He puts out the thank you Cleveland statement. Parsons did the same thank you Dallas spiel, shtick, whatever you want to say, in his notes, and he puts it on Twitter, and Garrett did the same thing. Garrett gets a deal about a month later. This is the stuff that happens. I don't think Parsons is going to get traded, but let's talk a little bit first about that potential contract, and then Jerry Jones's role in this, and really why Cowboys fans should be absolutely fed up with the owner. And if you weren't already, this would be my breaking point completely. But Parsons has two different contract models that I looked at. One is the you and your agent win everything. You totally leverage the front office completely and get a 4-year, $180 million contract, highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. It's $45 million per year. I'm not just pulling these numbers out of thin air either. This is from Spotrac, or Spotrac, however you say it, the website that everyone goes to for contracts and for sports financial information. The first one that always pops up whenever you look up any league's contractual inner workings and financial workings. Michael Giannitti, though, on Twitter does a great job. He's the co-founder of it. You can hear him on the Spotrac podcast. And he broke down the Micah Parsons extension. He gave two possible deals. The first one is that $180 million contract by 4 years. What that would look like is $90 million guaranteed at signing. And that's a lot of money to give Parsons, but he's absolutely worth it. He's one of the most valuable top 20 players in the National Football League, including quarterbacks. So you have to give this guy money. He's one of the most valuable 3 or 4 non-quarterbacks in all of football, and he would be paid this amount by any other team pretty quickly, I'd imagine. There's someone in the league that'll pay Parsons that amount of money. But 4 years, $159 million is what's listed as the more practical deal. That's $39.7 million, per year. And you look through some of the other numbers and comparisons at the position, and it makes sense. Parsons should have gotten the contract last year. Now we're at a point where it's more expensive because you saw Myles Garrett get paid. You saw TJ Watt get paid. Dallas now has to go for their star player at the same position. The edge contracts and guaranteed money right now around football. Myles Garrett has a $123.5 million guarantee in his new contract. Nick Bosa, $122.5 million contract. TJ Watt, $108 million guaranteed in his contract. Crosby gets $91.5, and Josh Allen in Jacksonville gets $88 million guaranteed. If I'm Micah Parsons, I'm saying I'm better than Nick Bosa. He gets $122.5 million guaranteed. I want a number a little bit higher than that. I don't need to get the $123.5, which is an extra $1 million, because Myles Garrett gets that. I understand Garrett is on his third contract here, and he's been a staple with Cleveland. He's a Hall of Famer if he retires today, and he's still producing at that high level. I understand that. And Parsons has a great agent. He's got one of the best agents in the sport, so I imagine he's going to get a really good deal here, but a trade feels unlikely. Now, let's go to the Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones part of this. The Dallas Cowboys in the last few years have ran into this problem where all they keep saying over and over again all the time to their fans, to the media, is we're going to get CeeDee Lamb done. We're not worried about it. We're going to get Dak Prescott done. We're not worried about it. We're going to get Tyron Smith done. We're not worried about it. Then you get to this point in training camp. Parsons is the latest example where you become worried about it because you didn't get it done the year in advance that you should have. We're seeing teams such as the Houston Texans this year with Derek Stingley, the New York Jets this year with Sauce Gardner, get elite defenders done after year 3 on their first rookie deal with their homegrown team. Parsons didn't even have to play last year. A lot of guys would have sat out in Parsons' situation, but he played. He says, I still have 2 years left on the contract. I'm going to finish the 4th year of my rookie deal, but I'm not playing on the 5th year option the 5th year. And that's the right move. He should not play this year without a contract. And Jerry Jones is now responsible for CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, and Micah Parsons all getting contracts way too late in the game. And every summer, there is something holding up Cowboys' progress. And this year, with Brian Schottenheimer as a first-time head coach and somebody that I'm not really too high on, and I know that most people are not too high on him as a head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, it's not what he needs in training camp to have the best player on the team, the most impactful player besides Dak Prescott. You know, he's right there with CeeDee, but I'm going to say Parsons is the best non-quarterback on that roster, the most valued non-quarterback. He needs his money, and Schottenheimer should not have to worry about whether or not he's going to have him because that defense was a mess last year. Schottenheimer needs to focus on getting the offense right, getting the run game right, and he needs to learn how to be a freaking head coach in the National Football League. And on the defensive side of things, Parsons is not something he should have to worry about, and now he does. So it's a mess in Dallas. I don't think they're going to be great this year, but that's a conversation for a later show. Let's move off of the Cowboys and off of Jerry Jones, who, once again, Cowboys fans should just be fed up with. And let's go to the Steelers making a little news yesterday. They check in on Terry McLaurin's availability. Of course, McLaurin in the same kind of situation where he does not have the contract. He wants the DK Metcalf deal or better. And quite frankly, he deserves more than what people think he deserves because McLaurin quietly has been one of the league's 5 or 6 best, most reliable wideouts. He's looking for $33 million average salary. That's a Diana Rossini report from The Athletic. Diana's usually pretty good, so we're going to take that at face value. And then McLaurin, in the same article that Rossini wrote about the desired annual salary, she puts some stats. Since 2020, he hasn't missed a game. That is worth a ton right away. He's obviously a bona fide wide receiver 1. He's never had a teammate with over 700 yards receiving. Yet, he's recorded 5 straight years of 1,000-plus yards. And you look at the guys that have gotten paid already around the league. On his own team, Deebo Samuel's making $23.8 million. I would argue, and we'll tie the Steelers into this, that out of the top 16 paid receivers, 16th is Pittman, number 1 is Jamar Chase. I'm not going to say that McLaurin is the 4th best, but I think he's better than Metcalf. And I know he's not as explosive. I know he's not the household name and the exciting name that Metcalf is. Metcalf's the 4th highest paid receiver in the league at $33 million per year. Garrett Wilson's 5th at $32.5. Don't you think McLaurin deserves it? And I loved what Dan Orlovsky said on ESPN yesterday. You were so bad for so long. This guy was the only bright spot of your organization for his whole career until this past season. Get him what he's worth. Pay him what he's worth, Josh Harris. And I think they will. You saw him at practice yesterday because he's holding in with Josh Harris, having a laugh, handshake, half hug, whatever. They look like they're all in good spirits. I think that gets done. You can't go into this season. Jaden Daniels, too, was saying yesterday, I'm pretty confident that we're going to see Terry running around here soon. So they're on board with this. I think $33 million, the Metcalf deal, is what he's worth. I don't know if he gets the amount of years. That was a 5-year deal for DK, but he's at a point right now where he deserves it. T. Higgins, $28.7 million. Brandon Ayuk, $30 million a year. He's better than both of those guys. DJ Moore, $27.5 million a year. So he's definitely at the $30 million a year price point. Amon-Ra St. Brown's at $30 million also. That might be like a hindrance in the deal, to get to $33 million because Amon-Ra St. Brown is an all-pro receiver. First-team all-pro guy who's catching 120 balls a year. A.J. Brown, too, $32 million a year. He's the sixth highest paid. You're not going to get to the top three where CeeDee Lamb makes 34, Jefferson makes 35, and Chase makes over 40 now per year. You're not going to get to that top three, but you could get that fourth spot. You really have a case to get there based on your career, your stats, being a homegrown guy in Washington. Absolutely, Terry McLaurin has a bid for $33 million a year. He and his agent will have to negotiate over the next few days. You want to get him to camp also, because the last thing that the Commanders want is a second-year sophomore slump for Jaden Daniels and for Dan Quinn and this entire team, because last year was so great, maybe the best non-Super Bowl season in Washington history, and you want to make sure you repeat that. And you're in the division with the Super Bowl champions in a conference that is not as easy as people want to pretend it is in the NFC. And honestly, a division, we'll talk a little Giants at the end during the training camp mailbag, but a division that's not as easy as people want to pretend it is with the Cowboys and Giants. Those are not free wins this year, and the Cowboys usually never are, but those are not free wins this year, the Giants and Cowboys. And obviously the Eagles will not be either, but the Commanders will not be either. Let's move on. Browns, total opposite situation, right? The Browns not competing for championships this year, whereas Washington is, but they released their first depth chart of camp, and that is significant to me because they have the most intriguing quarterback situation going into the summer, going into the season, and now Stefanski shows you where he lies, and I think anybody who really follows football and understands the four players they have in that room would have predicted this. I've predicted it. I've said it on this show. This is how it's going to look. Flacco is their QB1. Kenny Pickett is their QB2. Dylan Gabriel is 3. Shedeur Sanders is 4. I don't think any of them get released. I think they're all on the 53-man roster at the end of this thing because you only have Flacco for a year. Pickett's probably a one-year guy also. Don't forget, they're still paying Deshaun Watson. He's in the final year there. He can finally get out of that after this season, but he's out for the season with, I think, an Achilles injury, right? So Watson's done. He won't play another snap for the Browns. They brought Flacco in because Stefanski wants him. The best football of the Stefanski era was played with Joe Flacco. Baker Mayfield second, probably Jacoby Brissett third, Deshaun Watson fourth. But that's where we are right now with the Stefanski era, and his job's on the line this season. So is Andrew Berry's. So they went with a guy that they're comfortable with and a veteran. Then they got 3 young guys who maybe can provide some upside for them as developmental pieces. Kenny Pickett, probably a career backup. Pretty confident that he doesn't have much more room to grow. Never showed flashes with Pittsburgh. Was a backup with Philly last year. And then you have Dylan Gabriel, who was a third-round pick, undersized, left-handed, was good at Oregon, was good at Oklahoma, was great at both, actually, relative to the college quarterback, and was one of those Heisman guys, preseason Heisman guys 2 years in a row. But Gabriel is good. Sanders was good at Colorado, too. So you have your developmental pieces. Those guys kind of fell into their laps in the 3rd and 5th round. 2 quarterbacks that you're happy with at those spots. You'll see where it goes. The team looks awful on paper. The offense looks awful. The defense looks very incomplete in Cleveland. I think that they got a real chance at being the worst team in the National Football League this year. They don't have an easy schedule. They don't have an easy division. And if they were right there with the Saints at the end of the year, nobody is stunned that Cleveland was there because you're looking to recapture the Flacco magic that you got 2 years ago now. And he's only getting older. And remember how that playoff game went for them against Houston? They just got rolled through by CJ Stroud and the rookie Texans. I'm not too high on the ability of Cleveland to catch that magic again. You're not dealing with the same pieces offensively. Elijah Moore's in Buffalo now. Amari Cooper's a free agent, and you can't bring him back because he's just totally washed now. Jerry Jeudy is your top receiver. You still have David Njoku, who Flacco obviously had a good rapport with on and off the field. The offensive line is suspect. The defensive line is suspect even with Garrett. And their secondary, once again, incomplete is the word I'd use. But the Browns reveal that first group of training camp. And the most intriguing part is, will any of these guys get cut? 53-man roster. You're paying 5 quarterbacks. One of them is one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, and Deshaun Watson. He's not going to play all year. And you have these 4 other guys. Flacco's definitely going to make the team. Any of the other three could get cut. I'd be shocked if they did, but it's significant because the Browns do have guys on that team. We'll do a little fantasy football at the end of this, but the Browns do have guys on that team that have fantasy football implications and will play a role in fantasy drafts, middle rounds, late rounds. I don't think they're going to be any good this year, though. All right, let's move through to the daily training camp mailbag. A few minutes left to go here in the show. Jets training camp. It sounds like a disaster. The defense has been good. Everybody's saying the defense looks great, right? I'm reading all of the beat reports, but Justin Fields can't pass. He cannot execute their passing offense. Two troubling signs for them. First are just the bare stats. He's turning the ball over a lot today. He has not been throwing many interceptions in camp, but he has not been throwing many touchdowns or completions in camp. I'd worry about Fields. Normally, I say don't worry about people based on training camp stats. They really don't matter, but Fields is a guy who we've seen struggle throwing the ball for 4 years. Why would it get better this year? And if it's not getting better in camp, I wouldn't really be too into Fields getting better during the regular season. We're going to see him in some preseason games, it sounds like. At least once he's going to get some preseason action from what I'm hearing, what I'm reading. So keep an eye on that. But Fields is another guy who, around him and himself, massive fantasy football implications and big implications for the Jets because they got him on a 2-year deal, $40 million. They're trying to see if they can get one of those Geno Smith, Sam Darnold guys here. Jared Goff in Detroit was another one, and that's what Glenn's kind of going for. Get my own veteran quarterback into the building, get rid of Aaron Rodgers. The Lions got rid of Matthew Stafford. Even if they were better options, they wanted their own guy. So the Jets are evaluating him to see if he's an option for quarterback next year. But Fields, Garrett Wilson, Mason Taylor, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen are all big fantasy players this year and guys that you really want to keep an eye on. Mason Taylor's out for a week with a high ankle sprain for the Jets, rookie tight end, second-round pick out of LSU. So he's had a promising camp, but he's out for a week. Monitor that. See if he loses any of the starting tight end reps when he gets back. You should see him a little bit in spring training as well. But, yeah, Jets offense completely stalling. Let's move on. Kyren Williams gets paid. Not a huge contract, but a good one for Williams and a good one for the Rams. Williams gets a 3-year deal at $33 million. It's $11 million per, and he's a former All-Pro back 2 years ago. He had a great year. He's one of the great receiving backs in the league, a really excellent third down back. Again, undersized guy, but McVay took him and put him into the perfect situation. Matthew Stafford still hasn't practiced yet, so Kyren Williams is a valuable guy to have around at running back. You want all of these guys there, but Stafford's struggling with the shoulder, hasn't thrown yet for the Rams this summer. They don't doubt that he'll be there week 1. They are confident that he will be their week 1 starter. He'll be on the field. So Kyren locks up the 3-year, $33 million deal. He'll be a full go in camp moving forward, and that is a big, big fantasy player, obviously, and player moving forward for the Rams in the upcoming season. So keep an eye on him and what his training camp looks like and how many reps he's getting, because sometimes they do like to flirt with that committee in L.A. with Sean McVay. Now with more stuff in the mailbag, Malik Nabers, absolute freak at Giants camp. They have 2 guys that have just jumped off the screen. 2 young studs are finally in the Giants building. I mean, how long has it been since they had really good elite young talent? Malik Nabers is one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver, in training camp this entire summer. He is just going off with Russell Wilson. Abdul Carter on the other side of things has been an absolute monster. Giants offensive line looks awful, but Nabers is a guy that's going to get fed this year. Whether it's Russ, whether it's Jameis, whether it's Dart, they're going to feed him because these are not good quarterbacks. They're going to look to force it to the most talented receiver they have, and one of the 3 or 4 most talented receivers in the league, potentially, in Nabers. He's scoring 1, 2, 3 touchdowns every day, catching 6, 7 balls a day at camp, and a lot of contested grabs, a lot of real highlight play, highlight reel material. So you want to make sure you buy stock on Nabers going into this season, because he looks poised for a massive year 2 after having an historic rookie year with as bad a group of quarterbacks as you could imagine. Cam Ward. This is an interesting topic today in the mailbag. Is Cam Ward the most slept-on number 1 pick that we have seen in recent years? Because he's having an awesome training camp. He had an awesome last year at the University of Miami. He was unanimously the number 1 pick of the draft. There was no debate about him going number 1. and he is not getting talked about at all. You watch Titans camp highlights, you read, more importantly, the beat reports, and Cam Ward feels like a veteran quarterback just got dropped in, a really good veteran quarterback into the Titans offense, and they look great. Again, do you put too much stock into the training camp stuff? No, but Cam Ward is getting no buzz at all. Shedeur Sanders is still getting more buzz than Cam Ward. And Ward looks like he's going to be a heavy favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year, and a guy that can take the Titans to places that C.J. Stroud took the Texans. He really does. And who knows if that happens. The Titans are a mess, but Ward looks really great, and he's not getting any respect. Couple fantasy football mailbag things. Kyle Pitts, don't buy the stock. I mean, do not take the bait on Pitts. If you take the cheese on this guy again, you're an absolute moron. You're lost because Penix says they're going to throw him the ball. How much? Pitts is not good. We have watched him now for 4 years. Pitts is not very good. Or 3 years now, whatever it's been. We're buying stock on this guy every summer. I never have because I didn't like him at the draft. One of the rare top 5 position player picks that I really didn't love, and I thought he was more of a late first-round pick, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not even giving myself a pat on the back for this because it's just a totally different conversation. But Pitts is not a guy that you can put stock into. You really can't. How about the second pick of the fantasy draft this year? If the first pick is Barkley, who's the second pick? Is it Chase? Chase is who the metrics and experts would say, but what if you want to go running back? Is it Bijan Robinson? I don't know. We'll talk more about it later in the week. And who are the upside guys in fantasy football this year? The top 20 picks. Who are the reaches that you should be reaching for that people aren't really talking about? Who's getting the buzz at training camp? I don't know. I'm asking you guys. Bring it to the show tomorrow, and we'll talk more about it there. Thanks for watching The Bunker today, Tuesday, August 5th. I'll be back tomorrow on Wednesday, and some exciting stuff coming to BTO Media next week. So stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow. Make sure to watch No Good Takes with Giuseppe Oliveri, also dropped today. And The Burrows will have another episode on Friday. No Good Takes will have another episode on Thursday. And I'll be back once again tomorrow, Wednesday. And it'll be Wednesday every week, and probably some other days of the week as I'm doing today. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.